So if, well, any of you that know me won't be surprised to see a snowmobile application on here. So in the summer, it's a pretty safe bet that you'll find me on the river on a boat. In the wintertime, it's a pretty safe bet that you'll find me out on the snow on the snowmobile trails. I was going to show the video, but I'll take the claim of the first board member to arrive at a board retreat on a snowmobile. I was probably the only one that was somewhat happy with Scott when he decided to have this board retreat up in Bayfield. And we woke up to about 2 feet of fresh lake effect snow one morning. And all the people that had to drive back down to Madison probably weren't too thrilled, but I stayed and had a really good time. And so anyhow, a few years ago, I was, being the kind of map geek that I am, I thought it'd be, all of our snowmobile clubs and all the counties, we have these paper maps. And, so you do a trip, you might go through 3, 4, 5 different counties. And, so you got a whole pocket full of paper maps. And, you're out riding and you get wet. Those paper maps, they tear apart. And there you are, you're stuck without pretty much anything. And, well, that would be really great if we had, this stuff on our phones or on a GPS unit, and if other counties, so that's kind of like, I wonder if I get a bunch of counties together, we could make a snowmobile trail app and all that stuff. And well, then came Polaris, and they decided to, somebody had the same idea I had, and they're a little better at making a fancy app with it. So we want to invite Polaris Industries here. They are have a product called RiderX, which I've been using for a couple of years now. And we invited them basically because we wanted to, those counties that have accurate trail information, it would be a great service to people like me and other people that come to your county to ride your trails if you had accurate information to put in their app. But I'll let Bob go in and explain it in more detail. So
I think you did
welcome,
great.
Bob.
You did it. You did the presentation. Thank you. My name is Bob Krostue. I'm what they call a trail ambassador, and I work for Polaris on kind of a part-time basis. And I do this because I really love the sport, and I think they got some great ideas. Polaris, by the way, if you guys are into the market or whatever, you should take a good look at their stock. I'm not promoting it, I don't give any tips, but they're a very, very progressive company. So my job is that I make contact with organizations, with clubs, with individuals, talking about the benefits of RiderX to them, what it can provide communities. And I'll go through some of those things. So it's a lot of fun for me to get out and ride with people and to talk to them. Now, being that you guys are the geeky ones, the GIS group, I brought with me Bo Perry, who's sitting right here from Polaris. He is our GIS specialist, and Bo pretty much lays everything for all the maps all over the United States. Canada we're working on, even going into Russia. I wanted to say one thing. Now, this is not just snowmobile. This is for ATVs, or off-road vehicles, so single track, side-by-sides, also for on-road with Indian motorcycles. So it's an app that runs your GPS, so I basically can use it like your GPS I do when I'm traveling. I just use it on my phone, so it works out really well. Some of you I've talked to over the phone. I make contact with a lot of clubs. And I've contacted every county in the state except for 9 that I'm still working on. What makes Wisconsin different and a little more challenging for me is to get that information, we have to go to each and every county separately. There is no state place that all this data is put for ORV or snowmobiles. Some counties have GIS data, some don't. So for Bo, we give them a PDF map, takes them 8 to 10 hours to lay that data on, and it's off, like one you told me, it's off like 750 feet. But Anyway, what I want to talk about is that I understand that your group or some of the counties are looking at having statewide information, which I think would be helpful to the consumer and helpful to our app. So that's kind of my little point. Anyway, RiderX. What I want to X, a lot of times people look at that and say, oh, the rider's out. RiderX means we put the rider in the center. It's all about the rider riding safe, legal, and responsible. That's what the communities want. That's what the riders want. That's what we want. So that's really our main theme on this. For you that snowmobile and so forth, there's nothing worse for the sport than you get off the trail, you don't know where you are, you're going through somebody's farm field or private property, enforcement shows up, and right away counties and communities want to shut it down. So what we're trying to do is make sure that that stays as accurate as possible, or at least in sync with the counties or government agencies we're working on. So we will be going through what is RiderX, who are we, future of the sport. Obviously, youth and family is very important to every organization and every sport. I see there's a young group here for sure. And destination experience. Now, we got Meeker, Colorado on there because this is one that one of our VPs gave out in Colorado, but it really, there's only a couple slides on there, and it can be any community in the United States or anywhere in the world as far as that goes. So RiderX, again, just a little repeat. You see some of the products that they have on there, but it's not just off-road, it's not just snowmobile. It's on-road with the motorcycles and so forth. So 24/7 digital world. You guys know this better. We have situations where, of course, some organizations are getting much older. They're kind of resistant to what happens here, but we all know this is the way to the future. I mean, I'm sure all you guys, one of the things in the presentation, I go, how many of you have one of these? And if I'm with a group of about 25, 30, 40 people, maybe 25% will have, the rest of them don't. I'm sure all you guys have them. So it's a wave of the future, and it's really connecting the rider with all the new technologies that are available. Like was brought up, these paper maps, they're great, but you go through them, they try to print them on tie-back so they don't wear out, they don't get wet, but you got a whole bunch of them, you got to stop and get them out. The phone works great. Where can I ride? The number one question for our user group or somebody that starts new in the sport is, where do I ride? Why do people join clubs? I mean, basically any type of club or organization, because they want to know how they get started and how I can get myself positioned in an organization. Same thing with snowmobile clubs and everything else. When I started out snowmobiling and off-roading and so forth, I found a club and I went to because I didn't know where to go. So that's the number one question we hear all the time. This RiderX program, this app's on there, it's got a couple of really neat things. Plan, track, ride. Plan your rides. What's nice about this is, if you're a snowmobiler, you can go online or on your phone on the app, and you can plan a ride before you even ride it. So you can look at it, decide where I go, determine how many miles I'm going, determine what waypoints, what things are out there. If the app is kept up by, say, one of the local clubs, there might be a trail that's been closed in the last 2 days. Some of those things on those trails you can find. So you can plan it, and then if you want to ride with a couple of your buddies, you can send that off to them and say, hey, look, I'm planning to go next weekend. Here's where we can go. So he can see the same thing that you're seeing. Part of the other thing that's on there, somebody asked me about that. We were talking about dealers and anyway. Doesn't matter who it was. We were talking about dealers and talking about some other dealers around in small towns around Antigo, and I don't know, I know a couple of them, going to a couple of them, some of you didn't. On that app, you can punch in where to find the dealers. Now, it looks like a Polaris app, I'll give you that, but so for the dealers, it'll say Polaris, but we all know how many single dealer or product brand shops are there anymore. They all have 4 or 5. So if you ride a Yamaha, odds are you might. The Antigo is a funny one because the Polaris dealer in Antigo is Antigo Yamaha. That's the name of the place. So a lot of things. Find food, gas, lodging. all of those type of things. So you can go on the app, there's just a button you hit on there, you can find where all the restaurants are, how to get there, information about them, phone numbers so you can call them. There's a lot of things you can do. Track your rides. Tracking is exactly that, it's a GPS. So you jump on your machine, whether you're on the road, off-road, wherever you're doing, and you can track your trail. As you're tracking, I might be jumping ahead a little bit, there's a lot of things you can do with that. Take pictures of waypoints, all of those kinds of things. So you can ride, and then you can put it in pause mode. You can determine how long it took you to do that, which is really great. So if you stopped at lunch, you can pause it. From there, you can start it back up and go. What really works great with that, with your friends or maybe acquaintances that you met, like I do a lot of off-roading all over out west and so forth, and you meet an acquaintance. I got one from Montana. You send that to him and say, hey, look, here's where I rode. Here's how long it took. You can send that to him. He knows exactly where you went, how much time. You can see pictures of you took. So there's a lot of really neat stuff in there. I don't want to forget a couple of things on there. One is the weather. We all have weather things, but again, you just punch an icon, brings up the weather for your area, if you got your GPS on, or any other area that you might want to look at. If you plan on going out, you know, a week from now to South Dakota, you might want to look, see what the weather is, when the big storms is coming. Last year we off-roaded over there, and we missed a huge storm by a week. We'd been up in those hills, we'd still be there. But the other thing that's new and is just beginning is diagnostics. And you all know that you got that in most of your new vehicles. You have diagnostics that's on there. Your dealer can get a hold of you, you can plug in the information. This will be, they have it on one machine, but this is the future, and we'll go there. Soon it will be on most machines. It might be an option. But what's great about that, let's say you're out on the trail and something happens, the light goes on. You don't know what it is. You can call in to Polaris, to one of the tech people, probably at one of the dealers that you punch in. They can see exactly what kind of machine you got, what year it is, see what your issue is, and tell you, hey, you know what, this is no problem, just take it easy, but you got 20 miles to go, go ahead, take it back, or don't run it. I mean, that's pretty cool stuff. Share your rides, I kind of went through that. You just share it with your friends on however you want to give that to them, any of the social medias. So like I say, I love my app phone, but I can tell you right now, my age, I don't belong to any social medias. So you get email. It scares you. Protecting the ride. Again, I know for you guys, it's kind of all about these off-road machines and that, but there's a lot of community involvement. There's a lot of things that, you know, GIS people help us out with, but we need to protect that industry, and we need to protect ourselves and our communities. For those of you that do ride or don't, because you've probably seen them in driving by areas, you'll see a lot of this going. That's what really frightens the off-road. Not that they want to ride. You know, the big thing is we don't want to ride in places we shouldn't be in. Every organization, every hobby, whether you're a cross-country skier or a bird watcher, deserves their space and their quiet. But closing trails and land just for the sake of closing them is not good for communities or anything. So protects the sport through awareness and stewardship. What I mean about that is just what I said. We want to promote safe, legal, and responsible riding so that the sport continues to grow. We can't do that alone as a manufacturer. We need the help of a lot of you people here. Like I said, some of them I'm talking to. We need your help to do that. We need the help of the clubs too. So I'll get into what we're looking for on the app. We have a program that we sign up, and it has to be approved by Polaris, trail managers and trail coordinators. A trail manager can send information into Polaris on a real-time basis if something happened to that trail. So if a tree fell down that trail, a landowner got mad during snowmobile and decided, I'm closing this trail. A trail manager will be able to deliver to Polaris, deliver to Bo, that information, which Bo, you can change in 24 hours. 24 hours will be changed. Opens back up, 24 hours it comes back. So I know I've talked to some county people who usually go through the clubs to try to do this. I've talked to some county people that are maybe interested in being a trail manager for a specific county. It'd be great if any of you are. We could sign you up. I'll leave some cards and some information out there. But so you don't think we're a bunch of wolves. In every county in the state of Wisconsin, there will only be one trail manager, only one person that we vetted that would be able to send information into us that says changes the trail. Because we don't want rogue wild Bob running off saying, you know, I cut through Joe's farm and past his barn and through his fence and I know how to get there. We don't want that on the trail system. So we sign up one person per county. And that person, or we sign up what we call coordinators, which can do all the same things that a manager can do, all these benefits of the app that we're talking about, but they cannot send it directly into Polaris. We won't accept it. It would have to go through that trail manager, in this case for whatever county you're in. But we can't do it alone. Okay, why are we doing RiderX? Okay, of course, to protect and grow the sport. This is a slide, it's quite old, but it shows you that just in the USA, we got 80% of the known map trails. We got over 200,000 miles within the US already. There's a lot more. And some of these, one of Bo's jobs, especially in Wisconsin, because snowmobile trails are pretty well established, is that information that we've got came from whatever agency we could find it from, and I think the Wisconsin Snowmobile came from their overall map, which they discontinued 2 or 3 years ago. Don't even have it. So a lot of that information we might have on there might be 2 or 3 years old. We all know there's not a lot of trails that last that long. So that's again why we need help promoting this app. Keep it right. Map printing too. Some counties don't print maps or clubs every 2 years. Well, you know in that second year or third year that trail isn't the same. You guys have all seen this. I always like that one. But it really is good. I think with a company like Polaris, they're very progressive when it comes to that, and they understand that they have to keep moving. Things have to keep going. Those paper trail maps and stuff won't be around forever. I mean, it's just like road maps. You guys go on trails, and just about everybody, excuse me, on roads, just about everybody does. Who pulls out their paper map? Everybody's got a GPS. So it's kind of the same thing. So we can't continue to grow and keep this sport responsible by using the old methods. I'll see this, you know, it's about family sports. Okay, youth involvement. Like every organization, these kind of sports, there's a lot of youth that get in. We want the youth to be involved in these things, but we want to teach them right off the bat that you have to be responsible to keep this going. Get them involved in doing trail maintenance and doing other things. Again, it's just a continuous plug that mobile device and GIS data will keep that all accurate. Polaris has partnership with the Boy Scouts of America. They feel, because the sports are growing so much, that it's very important. So they're spending time with Boy Scouts of America, teaching them about the app, and teaching them a lot about safety. Also about the environment. We all know, as you know, some of you people that go out there in forestry and do that stuff, that there's nothing worse than somebody, rogue guy, running off those trails and damaging something, especially with private landowner, but even on public land. Everybody hates it. I hate it. Everybody doesn't like it. So they do a lot of education. Family adventure. What this is showing, I kind of look at it this both ways, is that now most of it is about family. And this is a little snowmobile centric, but all sports are. Grandparents like myself are much more active in that. They want to go places, they want to see things, they want places to stop, they want communities along to go there that they know that they can recreate and they appreciate them. And the rogue snowmobiler out there just dancing around going wild is no more. Now that person on there, he might think that he's on a trail. And of course some of that happens out in the western states up and down. So I look at that versus the other one. I think they're both in some cases. Communities, tourism and entertainment. For you that are around Vilas County, that you know that there's some real things going on there about off-roading. That they just passed a little bit of legislature that they don't like it. They don't like ATVs. They don't like that. But you've got the UP, you've got Iron County, Michigan, right there on the border. That I just spent 2 weeks there. There's riding everywhere. All the people we met, it looks like you're in a parking lot for ATVs and off-road equipment, and people are going to the restaurants, going to the saloons, renting rooms. And I think that you find out is if you have communities that allow it, we're accurate and responsible riders, that it grows. This is the Meeker, Colorado thing, but it can be any town. So that this is more about the communities. You know, Polaris, the other manufacturers, they do a lot with communities and having things that go on and promoting their products and also the app. This again, this is Meeker, Colorado, but I'll tell you what, it just promotes the thing that if there's communities or areas that are starting to have off-road ventures and so forth, and they're thinking about having a trail, what a great idea to GIS it right away. It's not on? You can't hear? Am I not talking loud enough? Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now? Nope.
It's working.
Will that come off? Is it remote?
No, just stand up too.
There's a little kid on it. Okay.
That was good.
No, that was after lunch, but that wasn't. Okay. All right, can you hear me now? Oh, you gotta be right up to it, huh? I'll talk a little louder. Why don't I do that? Make it easier on myself. This right here, both these maps back and forth, what a great opportunity to have GIS data when you're creating new trails or new routes. Or again, in the case of motorcycles, which you can use it in your car too, if there's a real scenic route with waypoints, what a great thing to have the GIS data right away rather than drawing a darn map. Because with that, you can have waypoints. You can take pictures of places to stop, pictures of interest, just like you can on off-road trails. So, I jumped ahead a little bit. So, waypoints. I mean, that's one of the things with everybody we say too, that there's nothing better than promoting it when people that maybe don't do off-roading or don't do snowmobiling think it's something different than what it is. It's gorgeous out there. It's not all about going fast. It's gorgeous, and you get views like this everywhere, and it's different than looking at it in your car. I was kind of back about 3 slides ago when they worked with the communities on that, and we saw that snowmobiler out there on the dry powder just going crazy. Nowadays, it's family things, and even people, they want to go someplace. They don't want to just trailer have to dump their thing off and find some place that maybe they're not interested in staying in. So finding a destination, being able to plan it, and being able to have something to do in the evening and so forth is real important. You can do that through the app. You can plan it. So that's why we keep it going. Here's one thing I'll just point out. The outdoor recreation stats, 6.1 million jobs in the United States. 646 billion spent. Huge economics. 525 billion trips, travel and related spending. Wow. We want it to be legal. We want it to be responsible. This is kind of funny, but talking about misuse, it's a little exaggeration, but it's a good cartoon. If you guys can read that from there. And basically this person obviously missed, there's no snow and he's out there. Well, we might not do that, but I can tell you what, we've all probably done it. You can go off the trail real easy and get into some situations you don't want to be involved in. Hopefully you're not doing that. Okay. So I'll just tell you a little story that happened to me that I wish I had the app and that trail would have been on there. I had a side-by-side. I'm out with some guests from Minnesota. We're up in the mountains. We rode for about 4 hours, got to part of the trail where it dropped off probably about 100 to 150 feet. And the trees that grew up on one trail edge, there was a wall on one side, were so close together, you couldn't get something as long as a side-by-side turn. Basically, now you got a solid wall on one side and a cliff on the bottom. But I can tell you, just backing up your car, backing up and making sure that that wheel didn't fall off the end. My wife wasn't real happy with me. But we found a place we could back up and get off. With the proper information on that app, that wouldn't have happened. Because a lot of places they have on there, we have guidelines on what with vehicles. We actually had too wide of a vehicle for that trail. Didn't know it. It was published that it was for 50 inch with 64 inch riding. Didn't know it. Didn't know it was there. A little bit more of the same. Land managers in there. This is again another one of our communities just building new trails and so forth. Collaboration, we talked about that. Recreational master plans. Polaris is really, looking into that type of thing. That's what they're really developing this app. It's just not for Wisconsin. It's someday probably be worldwide. And this is a good time for me to go a bit. It sounds like a Polaris plug, but Polaris is not here to advertise Polaris on this app. It's free. As some of you know, there's no charge for using the app. Obviously, doesn't know what kind of machine you're riding. Obviously, everybody, I always like to get this out because it always comes up. They say, yeah, but what's the left foot for Polaris? Well, what it is, if the sport continues to grow, they'll sell more machines, but so will all their competitors. They are progressive enough, they're not willing to wait. They're not willing to wait. They see the need for a change, to change that technology. So one-stop shop. So that was the end of the presentation. So do you have any questions? If you don't, we got a couple more minutes.
I like to show the RiderX website. It's got internet and everything. We just get on.
Yeah, maybe we can plug in that.
I think we just go to the portal. Today? Okay.
All right, you can all hear me? All right, this is the RiderX portal. Anybody can go to this, riderx.com. You can sign up. It's free to sign up. The app is free. You can download it to your phone. When you sign up on the app, you sign up on RiderX. So your app information, when you signed up, email, and password will be the same for this riderx.com. Anybody can get into it. I'll sign in here just for fun. Just click on routes and trails up here. And here comes your full map. Now this is your map for all your recreational activities, which includes ATV, snowmobile, and on-road. Your trail types are up here. You click on it. If you don't have an ATV, all I have is an off-highway motorcycle. You can click on that. It'll show you all the trails that are allowable to off-highway motorcycles. All this is done with the collaboration of state forest services, counties, associations, clubs, and state organizations. Wisconsin, like Bob had said, doesn't have an organization that, for the state, that oversees any trail system. It is all county by county. If I go call New York, they give me a statewide trail system and they say, ta-da, but here we can't do that. So Wisconsin is very difficult to work with because it's like working with 72 different states. Minnesota has their own, and we started a big program in Minnesota because that's where Polaris is located and it was easy to contact. But when I started this project in 2006, I started with Wisconsin and the UP because that's where I live. So it was easier to contact clubs. Well, back then all we had was paper maps. We didn't have a choice to go out and ask for GIS data because nobody had it at the time. Now it's being more progressive. More counties are getting GIS data. Bob's contacting them all the time and they're sending in any data they have. So we're getting it on here slowly, but we're trying to go for that full coverage where we can show the safest trails, the legal trails to ride on. That way everybody's riding in the same place. We're all having fun, we're all being safe. Also, so you see on here, go to snowmobile, I can click on snowmobiles, and that'll load up. There's all our snowmobiles, that includes US and Canada. You can zoom in as much as you want. If you wanted to get right into your community, all those orange lines are all the trails you can ride on. You can put this on your app. It's almost like heads-up navigation. You're going to see exactly where you are, what trail you're on, and you can go in and click all the information on these trails. So you click on one of these trails, it'll tell you the trail number is 25, it's open or closed. This is all stuff that we're getting the trail managers, trail coordinators. They're going to be able to go into here just like I am right now, click on that trail and say, that's closed, or the difficulty on that trail, or the scenery. They'll be able to put icons on it for any pictures they took along that trail. So we also have our map markers here. When you drop that down, you'll see dealers, restaurants, fuel, lodging, waypoints. So when you're on your app or when you're on your computer, you can tell, where can I stop for gas? Where can I stop for food? If I do break down, where's the nearest dealer? Polaris has the brand new 2015s with Bluetooth, which means if you call that dealer, they'll say, oh yeah, you have a 2015 Polaris Rush, and don't drive it anywhere because it's going to explode. Who knows? But you'll have that information. They'll have that information. It can be sent right to them via email or directly through the Bluetooth, and you can talk to them right on the phone as you're having these problems. So all this is included. It's all free. And all the data, I build directly in ArcGIS. I have hundreds and hundreds of shape files and things that I have GPX, KML. You can't imagine the things people send to me that I have to convert and look at and change. But it's worth it when you can go out and you can ride the trails you know you're being safe. Everybody's riding the same way. And if you do happen to go out by yourself, which we don't recommend, you can find your way around and your way back. I always say it's fun to go out and get lost on your ATV or snowmobile, but it's also fun to be able to find your way home. So go out and get lost and then pop open your app and find your way back. Anything else about that, Bob?
Yes.
Is there a way from your app that you can find out who your manager is, your trail manager for county?
No.
Not at the moment, no.
Not at the moment, but what we're doing with that, because it's a difficult process to get these managers signed up, to be honest with you, because a lot of them, I always tell some number of people, to be honest, because I'm really serious, right? A lot of times we run into resistance, not from the app, but that they're not savvy, they don't want to learn it. And I say, well, I can tell you what, Rich, if you ride with Tablet, well, for sure your grandkids do. So what we're leaving it up to those clubs, and we're really just beginning this process, is that I would in Wisconsin, join the club and tell presidents that this is your trail map. And they all, for snowmobile, they have an alliance. So they have these alliance meetings on the app, so they put something. So on the app, no. It's a good point.
They work without self-service. Can you download the maps or not?
It's not downloadable, but what I recommend to anybody who's going into an area that may not have cell coverage or may not have coverage for GPS is cache the area you're in. Go to the area you're going to ride, kind of surround it, zoom in and out around all the areas, and you can cache that into your phone's memory, and it'll show up when you get there.
That's an excellent question, because there's a lot of people, not a lot, but I get called about people really frustrated because that's what happens. They go, oh yeah, we know. We know what, even though you know that it'll catch up to you once you get connection again, but if you're out there lost, you're like, so no, very good question. Yes.
So kind of piggybacking on that, if you do have your map cached and you have an iPhone doesn't have an external GPS receiver, so do you have the capability to Bluetooth to something such as a Bad Elf?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that actually. I use droids,
So
I'm not.
So there's a device called the Bad Elf that, because I'm from the Upper Peninsula, and I use paper maps not because I'm a Luddite, just because there's nothing you can do otherwise. Until there's a device called the Bad Elf that a lot of different map apps have now affiliated with that will Bluetooth to this, and then you can have a GPS location.
Well, I'll tell you what.
At the moment,
I gave you a card. Just if you wouldn't mind, send me a one-line email.
Oh, sure.
That'll remind me and good things. Any other questions? Anybody else? Anybody want to go riding today rather than sitting in this meeting room? All right, thank you very much. And Barb, thank you for inviting us. And if you wouldn't mind, could I leave a couple things on this table? Okay, so I mean, you can find it by just going into RiderX, but if you want to see how to text it in, get it loaded up, I'll leave a couple things there. I'll leave a couple of these trail manager forms too, so you can just look at them. But if you're interested, give me a call or phone. Thank you.